This meeting is televised per Massachusetts rule, whatever it is. And so we're currently being televised, and I don't have an agenda. Where are they?
It's in your binder.
Should be in the
Oh, it's in-
binder.
The first page of your binder.
That was last
Oh,
week's.
Here.
I'm missing you, son.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sharing.
Okay, we got a bit to get to tonight, so we'll just get at it. Local upgrades and variances, 176 Manchog Road. What's G and H?
Marion Hill.
Okay. Is this it right on top?
Yep. Okay, you might want to do that too.
Weekend was fun out there.
It wasn't too bad. We didn't run into any issues, so that was at least a good thing. But,
Little wet.
we didn't have any sort of issues rain time for water. We did run into a little bit of models with the hole, but nothing else that would cause any sort of issues. But, good
Okay.
evening. My name is John Federico here in Holman. Tonight I'm representing the clients Thomas and Brenda Stasinski. Brenda is in the audience today if there is any questions for her in their project at 176 Manchog. Since I know a couple of the board members weren't here for the last meeting, let me just recap the project. Sometime around last April or May, our clients ended up having a system inspection done for their site. System inspection had determined that the system that is existing has failed, with effluent that has filled up the D-box and has backed up into the septic tank at this point. We were able to try to locate any sort of original design plans for the site. Nothing was able to be found, but through the system inspection, we were able to determine that the existing septic tank is located right here behind this existing retaining wall, with the D-box and soil absorption field located underneath the garage foundation that's there. No vent or anything was found for it, so we are led to believe that just over time that system has clogged up and caused the failure for it. As of right now, based on what we tried to do for the site, we have tried to design everything to meet Title V requirements. Due to an existing well that we have located for our house, as well as a neighboring existing well, and then just due to the small site constraints, since our lot is non-conforming, we were not able to fully fit a Title V fully designed septic system on it. So we are requesting the variance to allow for the installation of a tight tank. For this design, the tight tank, everything has been designed to meet Title V upgrade criteria. It is a existing 2-bedroom house. The tank size per those design requirements would be about 1,100 gallons. Because Title V requires a minimum of 2,000 gallon tank, that is what will be proposed for it. The system is designed also to have an alarm system that will go off at 60% capacity. Whether that will be something outside or inside the house, that will be kind of determined by the contractor and the client at that point. But all that information has been provided on the plan. In addition to the variance for the actual tight tank itself, we are also requesting a variance for separation from the foundation slab to the tank itself. We understand that Title V would typically require 10 feet. We're currently showing it as 5 feet. The reasoning for it is due to the retaining wall and parking construction that's going on there as well. The reasoning for that proposed driveway / retaining wall is to correct a safety issue that our clients are having on site, where they end up parking in the right of way and it's not safe, especially when they have their grandkids visit the site, as well as just allow a little extra parking just to keep clutter and everything off of Manchog Road itself. So as of right now, by allowing the 5-foot separation with the tank size, the retaining wall would in no way impact the actual tight tank itself. And then we do provide about an additional 2 to 3 feet from the edge of the tank to the base of the retaining wall for it. That is kind of it for the brief recap. In terms of the last comments that the board had for it, 3 major comments out of it. The first one was requesting that we note on the plan that the tank is monolithically poured. Under note 14, we have had that corrected, where it now reads contractors to use 2,000-gallon monolithic or tight tank by Shea Concrete or an approved equivalent. The second comment that came up from the last meeting was since there was no previous design information for the existing system or soil borings on record, to go out and do a deep hole test. It is a little bit hard to see on this print here as it is a copy of it, but we did do the deep test located about 10 feet off of the existing garage, a little bit on the southeastern side of the existing tank. We were able to find no unsuitable materials there, but we were able to find some modeling at about 36 inches below grade. Due to that, we have provided buoyancy calcs along with that soil profile on the plans. And due to the size of the tank and the soil on top of the tank, we would need no additional ballast to lay down that tank at this point. And then just to kind of fill the commission in, or sorry, the board members in, we are also going in front of Conservation Commission as well as ZBA for the addition of a proposed deck on the site. As far as the deck construction design, it's not that will be impacting the septic system, but that is located right through here. We are currently working back and forth with both ZBA and Conservation, so there might be a very minor change just to make setbacks work and everything for it. But other than that, the only other change that has occurred is located where our existing well is. Originally, we had proposed to have the retaining wall and parking area on top of that well. We would be installing a manhole frame and lid for it, and then allowing that wellhead to be brought up to close to grade. After speaking with the well contractor and design for it, it was determined that we would be pulling the wall back about 3.5 feet, just so we don't have any sort of issues with the actual existing wellhead. And as of right now, those were the only changes that have been made to the plan. In terms of the actual system design itself, there's been no impacts because of these changes.
There was also a 2-bedroom deed restriction required, which was in the folder.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry about that. And then our clients have worked with an attorney to get that paperwork drafted.
So I mean, the only thing that I would add to the 2,000 gallon, which you could always pick up on your ASBIL, would be the rubber connections for your inlet.
Okay.
Because it's down there, close to your modeling, so. Did you guys all see this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's right here.
if you go with it, Ken, I'm sitting.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Make a motion to approve it with a note on it that, that you pick up the rubber boot connections out of your inlet pipe
Sure.
on your as-built.
Second?
I'll second.
Any opposed?
And Margaret
No,
Bacon's
these
gonna
are-
look at this, right? She's gonna look at this.
It needs to be contingent.
And the deed restriction before the permit's taken out?
Deed restriction is already in there.
Okay, okay.
And then Judy, I haven't forwarded you any PDFs yet, but I can make sure I do that. And if you'd like me to CC Margaret as well, I can do that for you.
I really need hard copies, so if
Okay.
you could just give me 6 hard copy plans with original wet stamp.
Okay.
Okay?
Would all 6 need the original stamp, or we have one original and then we could have copies of that?
No, they all need to be
Okay.
wet stamped.
Okay, I can make sure that gets dropped off
Thank you.
sometime next week for you.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it.
Well done.
I didn't fold that right.
No, you didn't. We never fold these right either.
I was looking at the photo.
I must have.
Is there a Mr. Eli Richardson in the world? Extraordinaire.
I'm Eli Richardson from Richardson Wells and Pumps. I'm here to discuss about a closed loop borehole as compared to an open loop, as an open loop for geothermal heating and cooling. The idea is both ways, and it's also pump and dump, and there's vertical. Now, you all talk about vertical. On a pump, open loop, it's a water well. You install it like a water well. You make a borehole with an annual space outside the casing. You put it 15 feet in the bedrock with a drive shoe, and you grout the outside to seal it, and then you drill down until you hit water. But in an open loop, you might have to, it's like 100 feet per ton. You would have to drill, so if you hit water right away, you still got to go to get that thermal conductivity by the time it makes the loop, and you put the pump on top. return on bottom. By the time it comes back up, it's caught at 7 degrees again. Now, a closer is nothing like a water well. You're gonna bore down, it's a borehole. You're gonna bore, because you don't put it 15 feet in the bedrock, you don't put a drive chute. You might go that far in the bedrock. And once you, I just did 10 for FW Webb in Boston. We put 100 feet of case in, that far in the bedrock, drill 500 feet, put a U-band, it's a plastic pipe with a U in the bottom. And then when you're done, you take a trimming line out of a grout pump. You put it down to the bottom, you start grouting from the bottom. And that grout is grout and silica sand. And you grout it as you're coming up, you come up out of the hole, and you come up to the top, and then you try to get the casing out. Because it's better for the whole thing if you can get the casing out. And then you top it off with everything's full, and all it is silica sand. Same thing you put on the outside of the casing. Well, not the same thing, but an idea, and it's good for at least 50 years or whatever. And the idea is that when you put the fluid in, and 99% of the time, it's food grade antifreeze. And by the time it makes a circuit, it's caught at 7 degrees again. And it goes down. In this particular place, we have 3 wells going to go in, three boreholes. And by the time it makes a circuit, it's caught as heat again, or it's caught as cool again. And it just keeps going around, and that's what it takes to get the thermal conductivity. And that's what you're trying to do, is get that, either trying to push heat or pull heat. And you try to get the casing out, because it does restrict some, but it's minimal. But if you get the casing out, you give maybe an extra 0.2 on thermal conductivity, because water is 1.0 conductivity, grout, and without the case is 1.2. You're trying to get everything you can. Now, I do know one, the guy never put grout in it. It was a guy that was the territorial manager for the water furnace. He just ran a water well. But he got the closed loop system in it, but never grouted it. He keeps telling me I want to grout it, but he ain't come up with it yet. But it's nothing to do. There's no annual space, there's no drive chute, there's no water. If there is water, you seal it off, because you don't want water. That's creating an annular space. You don't have no water, so there's no testing. There's no casing got to be in the bedrock. There's no drive chute. It's a borehole. That's what you're gonna do. Like just like if they did, they talk about the DX system. We've done them too, and that's with the little machines. They go like that, they angle it, whereas we just do vertical. And what you do, they use refrigerant lines, just like you would do for a refrigerant, and you put that down 100 feet. By the time the fluid goes down and comes up, it's caught as from a fluid to a gas again, and that's how it makes the circuit. We're doing the same thing, almost the same thing, with fluid, food grade antifreeze. So if anything did happen, but nothing would happen anyhow, because you can eat it. But with that silica sand and that grout mixture, we got a big pump, and it mixes up real good before we put it down a trimming line and start filling from the bottom up. And that gives it's like a peanut butter. That's exactly how it is. Like, maybe a hard peanut butter, by the time it's done setting. But I mean, so there's no boulders touching it, nothing's touching it. So it's like a radiator in the ground. And that's what you're doing. It's a borehole. Now, a lot of towns don't have any permit for it, because when you're done, it's gone. It's down 4 feet, goes into the building, it's gone. Not visible, the only way you're gonna find it is off of my report to the state. I'd say where it is off this house, because if we ever had to, on the ground where it comes up, takes the elbow, where we do butt fusion. And we go into the house, if we had a leak anywhere, we wanna know where it is and how far we gotta dig up to it. But we also put a silica sand on top of the pipe going into the house, just to keep stones or everything, because that little bigger stone can do it. Believe it or not. But you just gotta prevent it, that's all. But it's not a well, doesn't produce water, can't get a test from it. Like I said, if you did get a lot of water, I'd probably run a stint down, and just keep it up or cement it, whatever. And it says they want you 50 feet from a water well, which we easily got that up there, and 25 feet from any contamination, like a septic system, which God knows I don't know why, because it's totally sealed.
Right.
It ain't like if we abandon a well, the correct way to do it is crushed rock pea stone, double washed, until you come up to a certain point, you cement the top, because the water's coming here, going there, you seal it completely, and somebody's gonna get in trouble here. But this is, you see what I'm saying? Right, this is a different thing, we're trying to seal everything off. If you had a contamination of any kind, you'd want this kind of seal too, to seal everything off. And it's ideal, it's green, it's the way to go.
So let me show my ignorance on this subject as far as our regs go. What kind of regs do we have?
All right, so, can I just?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Educate us. Speak.
All right, so I have spoken to Eli, and I also have talked to Joe Cerruti, who is the UIC program coordinator for Mass DEP for these ground source heat pump wells, okay? Basically, our regulations have not progressed with technology. And so our language in our well regulation doesn't differentiate between the different types of geothermal wells that exist. And in talking with Joe Cerruti, and so there's 3 wells involved in this,
Right
at
now,
least
yep.
3.
3 500
okay?
foot.
Sometimes it could be more or
Oh,
less
yeah.
depending on the size of the house and the heating system required. So in this particular case, there are 3 wells. So basically, I think they're looking for some relief in regards to our permitting requirement for this. Because that's excessive, 3 permits, you know, you can make them, maybe, pull 3 permits, but only pay 1 fee. I mean, it's up to you how you wanna proceed with that. But currently, as our well regulations are written, he would have to pull 3 permits and pay for 3 permits. Okay, so that's issue number 1. Another issue, and I talked to Joe Cerruti, and it is a well.
What was that?
He said because you're leaving something behind, it's considered a well. In the DX system, I don't believe you do leave anything behind, is
It's the
that?
same, it's the same thing,
He said you're leaving tubing or piping
same
behind.
with DX.
He's saying it's a well, so,
He's wrong on that, I can have that debate with him anytime.
okay.
I mean, because it's a bowl, you don't do it the same. You know, you do a well, you're gonna drink water of it. I think it says well in dictionary.
However,
you
there
drink
is
the
no
water.
water,
Right.
so there is no, the state has no water testing requirements for a closed loop system. So it would be probably unreasonable to ask for water testing when there is no water. So that's another, but our regs do not differentiate and state that all wells require the water testing. So you may want to not require water testing for these wells.
And as far as the permits go, what,
I think we did those 10 in, just for instance, in Boston for FW Web, I did 10 of them. And I don't think it was a permit, but we had to send a report in that we did boreholes. And we, just like we would ordinarily do, to mark where they are.
so what kind of inspections and stuff are done in this?
So
None.
in regards to, also the plan though, there are state setback requirements.
Mhm.
So I think a plan, and Joe Cerruti also thought a plan seemed reasonable. We do require
A well plan, yeah.
a well plan
Right, yeah.
showing where
borehole.
these wells are, okay?
So a
So,
plan and a
A
permit.
plan and
permit.
a
Plan and
permit.
a
I don't
permit.
think 3 permits, a permit.
A permit, and then
Is there
relief from
an
the
actual well
water testing, 'cause they're not
completion
taking any
report
water out.
done? Like, do you go on DEP and put in a well completion report?
We put a borehole report.
A borehole report? Will there
I ain't
be,
giving up.
will there be one for each?
All
is it
3
one?
might be on the same one, depends how we're gonna write it up. It doesn't matter, I could go 1 for each one. Just, and
I didn't know
I
if
can
there was a
even tell you
requirement,
before I do
yeah.
it, it's gonna be 500 feet. And I can tell you, it's gonna be no casing. It's ridiculous in the form it's at right now. I mean, it's just, some towns don't require nothing, just wanna know where it is, and some don't require nothing because they have no regulations on it. Which
So,
is,
the other, issue is the setback requirements, because our regulations, stipulate 100 feet from the soil absorption system, which would just be more costly, even, I don't even know if it would be feasible since there's so many wells.
But that's a
Well,
drinking well.
That's a drinking well, there's no
But it
water.
doesn't
Sealed.
differentiate.
Well, that's
in
what we
our
gotta
regs.
address, right.
Right,
That's
yeah,
why- that's
in
our-
our
that's why we're
regs.
here
So that's
tonight,
why I'm
right.
saying, so the state's reg is 25 feet, so it makes sense to
Yeah.
do
Stay with it.
25 feet.
yeah, stay with that, but there's no reason, because you're gonna seal it.
Right,
Right.
So-
But
so is any setbacks needed?
50 feet from a existing well.
Okay, so you
and
still have to
25
keep that.
feet from a,
Source of
from a
contamination.
septic.
source of contamination, and they don't want it, well, we don't do the angle ones, because the DX, sometimes they'll drill them like this, like a finger,
Right.
like that, but that's, it can't go 10 feet under the other people's property. But we don't, because we're just vertical, we just,
Yeah.
Because
So
we got-
so in this, we need to sort out the permitting thing. We need relief from where, which says what we're gonna do water testing for any well, which, notwithstanding whether it's a borehole or a well. And then maybe have it conform to the state setback.
And
There's
if he
state
puts,
barriers, yeah.
and if he puts 3 in or 2 in, it's just one.
One permit, right.
One fee, one fee.
right now, in
Right.
Boston, they got one job, a government job, they're putting 135 of them in. Wish I'd been on that job.
Can I go down a list of just a few of the setbacks and see what would apply and what we could keep and what would be different?
25, it's
Property
in-
line, well, I got just a little list, I wanna kinda,
Property line, they don't want to go on under the other people's
All right,
property,
so that's
10 feet,
10.
so say 10 feet off property line, 25 feet off of septic or contamination,
about right away,
and 50 feet from an existing well.
that's it. I mean,
That's it.
I got stable barnyard, ground fuel storage, underground fuel storage or
And it is crazy,
pesticide
'cause
tank.
That'd be
Yeah.
contamination, so that'd be
That'd be everything,
25 feet.
See, they don't want you to use cement in these things, because cement, when it hardens, you have that little bitty gap,
Right.
and something could be down there, whereas this stuff, it has electricity,
Yeah.
that it can, and the
Yeah.
whole thing idea is to get that thermal conductivity to the ground,
Yeah.
so you can make this whole circuit work. Works.
In the worst case, let's say that there was a rupture in this antifreeze, coolant, whatever that material is in the closed loop system.
Yeah.
Number one, it really can't go anywhere, right? It can't
No.
contaminate aquifer, and even, and number two, it's like a, it's like a food grade.
antifreeze.
It's a food grade antifreeze, so even if it were, it couldn't really do any harm. All right, okay, that's good.
But when you get your regulations, it's just pretty simple to figure it out, but,
So
or
we're
if you want me to
voting
pull a
on what we're
permit, it's fine, whatever you guys want me to do. I just wanna work.
That's,
So make a motion to, allow him to use state setbacks for his boring or his
There we
his
go, I like
thermal well. One permit for the property to cover up to,
Cover the town's little piece.
yeah, the amount of wells he's putting on there, and, a plan, being required.
That meets
And
the
relief from
setbacks.
water test.
Yeah, no
Relief
water
from the
test.
water
Water
test.
test.
All the casing setting, all the drive through, that's,
Right.
because I'm yanking that out, if I can. Sometimes you gotta leave it. If you had a rock fall in, you just right or whatever.
but if they need to add any wells in the future, then they'd have to submit another plan. If they decide they need more heat or something.
Yeah, well, that's obviously, that's an upgrade, that's adding afterwards, so.
Right now, that's for a 10 ton of heating cooling.
I make that motion, and
I'll second it.
All right, anybody opposed? So moved.
Yep.
So you can dance.
there you go.
Thank you
Thank
all
you.
much.
Take
Very
care.
good.
Excellent.
Talking to you
Thank you.
again.
Okay.
Nice meeting you.
There you go.
Bye, Eli.
Okay,
They had a whole series on this on Channel 2.
all right, good.
Yeah, that explained it.
Alright.
Yes. And he gets.
It's pretty safe. A lot more people are putting it in.
I love people.
Do we need
Yeah,
to
my
come up
man.
with
Yeah,
Right.
regs specific for this situation?
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah.
Put it on the list, do we have the old well regs yet?
Yeah.
We got new ones to do?
I know.
That's
Good.
interesting though. Minutes, oh no, 19 lots, I mean, no, 489 Central Turnpike,
COC and
COC is,
So that's what we have here, so the water,
Yeah.
so this is the little funky one, so they did, Andrew Survey did the as-built, and then, we discussed it, and, who's the engineer on it, what was his name?
Oh, Jeff, is a design
He
engineer.
was the design engineer, so we said he had to basically approve the as-built, even though he didn't complete it, he needed to sign off saying it was correct, and, so which he did. And there was a couple, issues on it that we had seen, he used approximate locations on his lines under the asphalt, cause they had backfilled them and paved them. They were able to shoot the ends and get that, and it was inspected and signed off by Jim, correct?
I believe
He
so.
inspected,
Jim must
did all his
inspect it,
inspections. So she had Margaret look at it, and she came up with a few, questions that she had, where are they? You have them there?
Yeah, I do. I think this is what you're looking for.
Yeah,
Okay.
so she had just a couple of questions that she might ask is, what was the date of the component inspection, so, we would have that on Jim's stuff when he inspected it, no, or? Do we have any
He had
documentation?
it in his office.
So we don't have any documentation of Jim doing the inspection?
Mm-mm.
And the installer didn't note when he went out there and inspected it.
I don't know, I don't look at that piece, it's the installer paperwork is there.
Yeah, but it's not, has nothing to do with Jim has to sign off on what he saw, and he didn't. So, how do we know that
He
Jim?
doesn't sign off until the very end.
Yeah, but how do we know that Jim went out there? They just told us he did?
Well, I know Jim had been going out there at those times, and
We don't know
Thank
what
you.
Jim said, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
So we don't have a date on that, we can't get a date on that, so that answers that question, but, did anyone from the town go out there? So that's another question, so we know Jim went out there, we don't know what he saw or what he said, but, and then the drawings show, copper water line, going through here, and he doesn't list a separation on it. So any water feed has to be 10 feet, if not double sleeve. I don't know what the design plan called for, but they
that's
just,
there, the design plan as well.
they just call it, they're just calling it out, and it is really close to that.
Okay.
So it would be,
Well, it's 10 feet, it needs to be at least 10
right, they
feet from the
gotta
sewer
at least
line,
label what they did, so it's either
Right.
showing an offset from it, or showing that it's double sleeve
double
or
sleeved.
whatnot.
Right.
So they
Is there
need to
another
make at
plan
least
over
a call
there?
out on there.
Can I have another plan?
Mm.
Some calls out approximate locations, which they're under the asphalt, so the plumbing inspector inspected the first 10 feet leaving, he was fine with it. They can shoot the elevations from where the elevations are, where they are in the tank,
Mhm.
so you kinda connect the
Close
dots
enough,
there,
yeah,
so
right.
it's,
Probably straight, yeah.
right. The slope's a little steep on the line going in, but they have T's on it for flow reducer, and there's not really much you can do about that at this point, so. And then over 8%, you know,
Yeah, this is
what
approximate.
happens is the water gets ahead of
It's ahead of the solids and leaves the solids behind, yeah.
But
right.
that's what I would, my feeling, I mean, she said also that they listed infiltrators on here and their Presby's in there, so it's just kind of a misprint on that, I think.
They didn't cover it without.
Let's see where she saw that, oh, probably in here, oh yeah, right here. So beginning of infiltrator, end of infiltrator, so it should say Presby pipes,
Okay,
and same up here.
okay.
So there's a couple of corrections to be made,
In a case
I guess, before the COC can be signed off on.
Okay.
How do we wanna handle that though, as far as signing off on the COC? I don't think the whole board has to sign off on the COC, it just has to be an individual.
Yep.
So if we can make a motion if they make these couple of corrections that somebody can sign off on it, or.
That sounds reasonable. You know,
I mean, I think the water line's important in changing what they're calling, you know what I mean? They're calling them infiltrators and they're Presbys.
and then shoot the grades there as best you can from the
They did
building to
shoot
the
the,
tank. Oh,
right, they did
already
shoot
did that.
those,
Okay.
they're just not providing the inside the house elevations.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure this goes out.
Yeah, I guess we're kinda working backwards, we're getting, don't have a lot of choice, right?
Yeah, and
Doing the
it's,
best you can, yeah.
right, we're signing off on what was given to us, what's provided, I mean, besides making them tear up their hot tub and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
doing extreme measures, it's.
So what are the specific corrections?
So what we're asking for, well, so
This is
I guess I make a motion
She didn't
to,
like, there's a
um,
7 problems.
approve the septic, design as built with the following corrections made to it. The infiltrator, the name of the SAS components, they're not infiltrator chambers, they're Presbys, they need to be corrected and changed to Presbys. And they need to show distances, location, or sleeving of water line and sewer line separation on their as-built.
So if it's 10 feet or less, it needs to be double sleeved?
Yes.
Then that
Yeah.
is, okay.
Yep. And I guess once that's been changed and corrected, then we can issue the COC. Any one of the board members can sign off on it.
Okay.
Someone second on that?
I'll second.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
And then the well, all right?
A water supply certificate, the
Yeah,
initial
just-
water results were reviewed by Jim. There was a filtration system added for radon. There was a retest. And that's been,
Apologize. How that happened.
Did I mess you all up, Judy? There we
oh,
are.
okay. See that water supply certificate's paved on the top of that pile?
Right here, right?
Yes. Because someone just needs to sign that.
You're the boss.
Make it so, number 2.
The water results are in there if you wanna look at them.
What are we doing?
You just
You're
sign
signing
it.
We'll sign that water certificate.
Just me?
You're the
Absolutely.
chairman.
Chair.
That's you, that's you.
You get the big John Hancock.
With the police. Any date on it? No, that's good. Okay.
I think I got it back in order for you.
I'll figure it out.
Okay. So they should be able to provide that and then just give one of us a jingle or someone can come down and take care of it for us.
Okay. 19 8 Lots Road.
That's one
Update.
too,
This is
actually.
the email thing, right?
Yeah.
That's just an update on what's happening with, you, that's the one you went into the site visit on, Ken?
Yeah. But I didn't really, I mean, yeah, I guess it sounded like they were gonna go back out and do some more work there, but they didn't address any of the grading, or they more have had an issue that a board member went out instead of the engineer, which we didn't currently have one.
I
I
thought it-
actually talked to, I explained to Mary Beth that we, frequently send out board members, that they,
Yeah, it wasn't,
when there's a.
as long as they're willing to address the issues, it's
That was-
fine. I mean,
that
the homeowner, is he all right? It seems like he's on board with what they're doing, or
Seemingly, yeah.
did he get a copy of that also?
Yeah.
So we did what we told him we'd do, so I guess we'll wait to hear from him. So if we don't hear from him, I would say by next meeting, we should probably touch base
For
with
the
him
next
again, right?
meeting, it's like
The season's
they said the
open,
compression would be taking place in May,
Mhm.
so.
so by the end of May.
I think that was kind of a throwaway line in there too, why, we're not sure why a board member went out and not the engineer. What difference does it make?
Right, it doesn't,
You know, I mean, you get through the whole email and then that last paragraph.
right, you just give them the
That makes
visual
sense.
aspect of what's
Yeah.
going on there. I mean, anybody could have walked, any of you could have walked out there with a code book and, saw the stakes and the edge of the system and said, wait a minute, doesn't seem to be making breakout. The top of the system's a bowl and holding water. I mean, it's just obvious stuff that needs to be
Yeah.
addressed, so.
Okay. Which brings us to minutes. From March. Oh, I wasn't here, so.
You sent these, you already sent
You
this.
can sign them, if you read them.
Is this a signable copy, or?
That's a
Oh,
copy
he's
for
got it.
review, he has the original.
So I wasn't here. Tammy wasn't here.
So you can all sign,
Sign it, I wasn't here.
if you read the minutes, you can sign them.
She wants a full signature pad going on there.
Pushing people in town, right?
Nice breeze, huh?
Yeah, it's nice, that feels good.
I'm gonna interesting.
It's nice right here.
Yeah, our office was like so muggy today. The girls had everything shut up. I'm like, oh my god, open the windows. It depends how detach your tape over. Saya.
Let me just put it back here. For the
Is
minutes.
there an issue?
I just had a question, because it actually has approved the meeting minutes from November 27th. Motion Ken, seconded by me, but I'm not here.
Oh,
Oh,
So.
Good catch. That's
huh,
that eagle eye.
I'll have to change that. Who did second that then?
It's funny names.
Hmm.
Good catch.
I
Good
like
catch.
it. I like it.
That's why she
On
makes
both
the
of
big
them?
guys.
That's why she's in it. That's why.
that's why she went to law school.
Yeah.
Guess so.
Just one.
Can't slip anything by. Tammy.
You don't see me signing things willy-nilly.
Just next to her
Oh
name.
man.
All in favor of not looking at it? We good? You wanna change,
I'll
approve,
correct that.
approve them with a correction
Yeah.
after we all sign? Okay. Where am I?
Department update.
Department update.
Okay, lots going on since the last meeting. Margaret Bacon is on board. She has been, picking up plans, doing plans, things like that. We've had constant communication and contact with her. Lee Jarvis, who has been filling in and, doing plan reviews, in the interim, is still reviewing a few plans that Margaret has had in the works and submitted that she can't do. So there's just that overlap right now. She is working just through a couple that she has left with some outstanding business prior to her coming on board. April's been a busy month for me for trainings and conferences and things like that. Some of the trainings that I've been to, there's a new regulation out that addresses short-term rentals, AKA Airbnbs, and taxing and inspections and complaints and things like that, that kind of fall under the purview of the Board of Health and the Building Department. So that's a new regulation that the Attorney General and state lawmakers had put out, but the Attorney General was putting the training on. Also, a lot of state sponsored trainings about prevention and public health safety, things like that. I had participated in last week a hazard vulnerability assessment for our region for public health, whereas the month before I had participated in one for the town. So there's a lot of that taking place in regards to priorities and preparedness and things like that. Today I was at a community sanitation update that was quite extensive. New changes on the horizon for some of the camp stuff, but medical waste and also beach water testing. Next month, hopefully, I'll be tying up my loose ends as far as trainings, public health nursing conference, and some immunization updates. That's about it on that, as far as training goes. Other than that, that is about it. I just wanna skip down to old and new business, because that also kind of pertains to me with departmental update. So the 4th of July parade is happening on June 29th. We've had a meeting with departments, had a meeting with some of the organizers of the event, and they also presented to the selectmen, I think one or two meetings ago. So they have food trucks that they're going to be having stationed at the parking lot of the First Congregational Church. And so I'll be there. There's 8 trucks that they have lined up on that Sunday, and they do have a rain date scheduled. Porta potties will need to be in place and things like that. But there is ongoing dialogue and things like that, and some of the vendors have already pulled permits. It's the 30th. Oh, it's the 30th, I'm sorry, wrong date. Oh, June 30th, sorry
June
about
30th.
that.
They've got, my company is gonna be a sponsor of that, but there's quite a few companies that came up with the sponsorships on it, so
Nice,
they're doing really well. It's gonna be really nice.
yeah,
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
My son Billy's on the committee
nice.
with John Essler.
Mhm.
So if you ever have any questions, just give him a call. They're meeting down here like once every 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, good. Yeah, so it sounds like, I mean, they did a PowerPoint presentation and everything, it was really well presented, and they seem to have all their priorities established and things.
Once John Essler gets in there, he spearheaded the campaign for the new building over at Whitensville Christian. So
Mhm.
he was really good at that,
Nice,
and putting the presentation together and then soliciting to the different companies. They
perfect.
actually went around and knocked on doors.
Good for him.
It's good.
Yeah.
Fireworks too.
Fireworks too,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think that's been finalized yet. I know they're talking about 2 places, but I'm sure they'll narrow it down by the time the event comes. That's about it. And is anything else? It's just been busy with season opened up now and warm weather coming, things like that.
Are we gonna have our famous camp battles? When's that whole thing usually
Oh,
start?
yeah.
Our annual.
Well, it's interesting.
I didn't know I
because
needed it by then.
That was a topic today of my training that I was at, camp inspections and things like that. So, it's very interesting because I have been in touch with a new person, and she's been kind of proactive. So she presented me with the book, and I looked at it, and I had her come in one day last week, and I said, it's a start, but you need something more specific, and so I told her I'd be getting back in touch with her. And come to find out, today I learned that the state had done 2 trainings with their big organization, so they should be pretty well versed with what we're specifically looking at. So we'll see.
Good.
But, yeah, the camp inspectors were smiling at me when they saw me today. They said, "Hey, you ready for another season?" I said, "Oh, whatever." But that's about it.
It's, you still have any ongoing dialogue with Market 32? I know that we talked about that a little bit.
No, they've been pretty good lately.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually did some shopping in there the other day, and I ran into the manager, and she looked at me.
Like a secret shopper?
Oh, hi. I said, I'm shopping, everything's fine.
They run down the aisle on their walkie-talkie.
Oh my God.
It's
they
Cheryl on aisle
probably
5,
did
Cheryl on aisle
because
5.
Clearing the way, throwing
It's
people out of
amazing how they
line.
know my name, and it's like, I don't even know who you are, but then they know who I am. I'm a shopper.
That's
But
awesome.
anyways, it's all good. Yeah. Ray's been doing heat inspections, FYI. I ran into him today, so he's trying to get those all caught up for the end of the fiscal year.
And we're gonna review well regulations, Title V, and fee schedule?
I keep those on there because we've been wanting to do it for eons, so
Yeah.
I'm waiting for you to.
I think, yeah, we basically, you know, Margaret's the person now who's gonna have to, so once she gets her feet on the ground, I guess, you know, maybe have her, you know, when she gets a better idea how we operate or whatever, I don't know, then call her in and have her, because she's the person ultimately who.
Yep.
I'm wondering too if you know if we could change, just in a general sense, change some of this stuff, like, rather than regulation, maybe they call them guidelines, because every time we change a regulation, right, it's gotta go to advertising, public hearing, you know, all this stuff, and it might be just simpler, you know, if we had something referred to as guidelines, which allows us some flexibility to allow, you know, I don't know, just an idea. Because it would make it, the whole process simpler, less expensive, less laborious when we have to change stuff. Because the regulations require advertising, public hearings, all that stuff. Anyway, but when we cross that bridge, we can talk about it.
Yeah. We need to look at some, review and revise our fee schedule also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd like to get that going. We're gonna need the money.
Yeah, we are. Definitely.
We'll put that first.
Yeah, especially the
Yeah.
season's open now, we might as
Yeah,
well.
that's good.
What's that?
So the season's open now, right, so.
It is, and especially now with, you know, a new person and
Right,
things are different, so.
Yep.
right.
Will she be attending the meetings?
If you want her to,
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah,
they come with a price tag.
I think she would prefer to come as, on a more as needed basis
Yeah.
than just come,
okay, all right.
you know.
I mean, that's something you can decide what you wanna do, but then,
Right.
again, you need to look at, what the different, scenarios are.
Are we at other business? Where, trash haulers aren't supposed to pick up before 7:00, right?
Mhm.
Well, you'll never guess who I observed at 6:40 this morning on West Sutton Road, northbound at DeWitt Road.
Was it our friend?
Joel's rubbish. I saw it, I was out for my morning walk at 6:40 this morning.
Wow, that's early.
So,
Better than when I used to see, but what, 4 o'clock?
my opinion is we
Really?
have given
We
him,
used to see him at 3:30.
Yeah.
we have given him, ample.
Does he drive the truck home or something? Does he drive around in it like a pickup or?
Was it him himself, or?
I don't know who it was. It was a Joel rubbish pickup truck at 6:40 this morning at the northbound on West Sutton Road at the corner of the south end of DeWitt Road. Because I go for a couple mile walk up and down DeWitt there, and it was at 6:40 this morning.
And he was picking up?
I don't know what he was doing.
Oh,
He was just
okay.
driving. I didn't see him pick. He didn't have any customers right in there. I don't think he has any customers right there. But in any event, well, that's a good point. I guess he can drive the thing around
He
as a
can
pickup.
drive
It's
it,
a
he just
personal
can't be
vehicle.
picking stuff up.
I didn't witness him picking anything up. So
I know.
but-
I didn't either. But
Okay,
at
well,
3:30,
maybe-
it's like weird to see a rubbish truck
Yeah.
driving down a back road. It's like,
Yeah.
3:30 in the morning.
right,
It's an
dump's not
expensive-
open,
It's kind
transfer
of an
station
expensive
ain't
way to
open.
get around.
Maybe he was going to the gym and then he was gonna go right.
Maybe.
After.
Maybe, I don't know. So I didn't totally observe him pick, but I don't know. Yeah, that's a good
Well,
point.
I will tell you.
I did not see him picking anything up.
The complaints that we have had was, when they were backing down the street.
Yeah, the backup.
And the
bill.
back-
backup
and the
horns are
Very
noise.
loud.
Yeah.
So that's when they knew that they were picking up, but I mean, I don't know if someone's just driving.
Yeah, no, I didn't witness that, so I guess
You know.
I did not listen to pick anything up. So maybe he was just going to get a
Go for a
morning
ride.
coffee and,
I
yeah,
think
go
it was
for a
the
ride.
same
Go for a
Nothing
ride.
rides like a rubbish truck.
Yes. You ride your Harley?
He
You
is
drive
always,
your rubbish?
he's always
Yeah.
receptive when I call him.
He is.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe he's totally legit. Maybe he wasn't picking anything up. I don't know.
And maybe, I know he has drivers also, so I don't, you know.
I can tell you one other time about it. This was a couple of years ago. It was very early in the morning, and I saw him driving southbound on, well, it would have been Sutton Road, right? That turns into West Sutton Road.
He could
Is
be
that right?
driving across
And-
town on the side of his
And
road,
and
so-
I said, oh man, don't tell me he's doing that. And it was early. I mean, it was like 4:00 in the morning. I was going to work, and I turned around, and he turned around right at the Millbury line and was picking people up, but in Millbury. So I don't know what
That's
Millbury.
Millbury.
So there was Millbury. So it was like, oh, good. I was actually pleased to see that he turned around right at the line, and he was, so he stayed out of Sutton at that hour. So that was, I was like pleased to see that. But this morning I did not witness him picking anything up. So anyway.
I can pretty much guarantee I'm not gonna see anybody at 4 in the morning.
Come on. I'm gonna start calling
even
you.
know
When I go to
people
work
are
early, I'm
out.
gonna start calling you.
Well,
Did you?
well, Kenny's out in the morning, he does a little spot checking for
Yeah.
us.
Well, you're up at 3:30 every morning, right?
Anyway, other business not anticipated? Anyone
Next
make a
meeting
motion
date?
to
Anybody
adjourn?
have-
Oh, so next meeting, we cannot,
Oh, next meeting.
it's elections on, May 28th, so we cannot have a meeting May 28th, so what do you wanna do?
I can go the week
Do you
before.
wanna do May 21st?
Sure.
I won't be here. That's okay.
21st right now works for me. Whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I'm open.
Diane, you good?
I have to check at home.
Oh,
I can't, I don't know all my stuff on my calendar.
that's my board meeting for the other, the third. I may or may not be able to make it, I'm not sure. I have a board meeting, but I might be able to get out of it. So, you wanna put it on 23rd? Put it there.
21st.
21?
21st.
21.
Yeah, Tuesday, right?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
A week earlier,
Okay. Adjourn?
Yep, make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
There you go.
Me.
Excellent.